What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you a safe and reliable way to test shimming on your gearbox without messing with any sort of MOSFET, any sort of trigger contacts, and I'm going to show you how to do it from start to finish with parts and everything you need to know. So let's jump right on in it. Alright, so first of all, we're going to need some tools to begin. So first of all, we are going to need our soldering iron. With that, a third hand tool is recommended but not necessary. We have some flux, we have some solder, we have some wire strippers, our Dean's connector, specifically the male side, a lighter, our heat shrink, some Spade connectors, potentially some sort of utility knife or blade, crimpers for your Spade connectors, a motor to test, a battery to test. You are going to need these Microswitches, one section of wire that is 4 inches long. We have a wire that is roughly 8 3/4 inches long. Our last section of wire that we're going to utilize for our negative terminal, and that is exactly 12 inches. So let's jump right in. I'll have this up on screen, up above when I'm doing the entire time, just as a visual. You don't actually need your Microswitch for most of this process, but it is something to have nearby if you have questions. So we'll set this aside. First, let's take our positive or whatever wire you're going to use for a positive. Recommend either white or red in this instance. We're going to simply strip a section of wire on both sides. This is where soldering is going to be somewhat necessary to attach a Dean's plug. So, grab your third hand tool and grab your flux and soldering iron, flux one end, and attach it to our third hand tool. Next, we're going to take our Dean's and attach it to our third hand tool. Flux on our top portion here. If you have questions where things are located, generally there's going to be a marking for your positive connector. In this instance, it's our top flat side for our positive lead. And tin our wire. We're also going to take the time to tin our Dean's connector. Find the best angle that we can and solder our wire to our Dean's connector. Unfortunately, I don't have red, so we'll just take a color other than black, place it over our point, and use our lighter to set our heat shrink. We then are going to take our large Spade connector with our crimping tool, making sure to use the correct hole for that, and we're going to crimp. And then we are also going to take some sort of heat shrink and set that in place on that side. Now your 4-inch section of wire is complete, and we can set that aside. Next, your last bit of soldering that you'll need to do, we're going to take our negative wire and strip both ends, roughly 6 millimeters. We're going to tin our wire, as well as grab our 4-inch section that has our DIN on it. We need to solder this section of 12-inch wire onto this DIN connector. Let's solder our DIN's connector onto our negative wire. And we can turn off our soldering iron. We're going to grab a section of black heat shrink, slide it all the way down, and set it into place. We can set our third hand tool aside. We don't need any further. And that is all the soldering that you need to do for this project. Now this is important. On the negative side, we need to set a spade connector, but we need the small one. Specifically one that'll fit onto a motor, airsoft motor. So we're going to crimp that onto the end of our negative 12-inch wire. We're going to grab some heat shrink just to cover our exposed point and set that into place with some heat. Now, on our second piece of positive wire that is 8 3/4 inch long, that's 8 3/4 inches long, we're going to simply expose, again, 6 millimeters of wire on each end. And we are going to crimp a spade connector on either end. You should only have 2 left, one big and one small. Doesn't matter what side to start with. There's one. And there's 2. Now we are done with our crimping tool. We're just going to add heat shrink to both ends, again for the exposed wire. And we are done with our lighter now as well. What we're going to do on our top section, we're going to attach our positive lead that goes directly to our DINs. And then on the middle, we're going to attach our section that goes to our motor. What you're going to do is bend your wires or insert this into your gearbox as you see fit. And we'll do a test. So on your motor, connect your negative and your positive lead. Connect our battery. Pull our trigger and test. And that's basically the lowdown. I'll show you it in a gearbox, just so you get an idea of what I'm talking about as well. All right, we have a gearbox here. This is a standard VFC Tokyo Marui spec. So this, for instance, this is why I created this. We're going to simply install. We're going to install our negative wire first, going out the back, and our positive going out the front. And now, when I close the gearbox, to test, I have a trigger, I have a battery connection point, and I also have motor grip screws that can go to our motor grip, and I can install, check alignment, motor, everything like that. Hook this up, hook a battery up, hold a trigger, and I can hear shimming. So if this is something that you feel like you can utilize, don't be afraid to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see things similar to this. If you guys have any ideas, any suggestions with something like this or something that might be useful for you, leave a comment down below. I'll try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Like I said, I have a full-time job besides this. This is what I do as a hobby. But if you guys have enjoyed this, like I said, hit that follow, hit that like and subscribe, and I'll try to utilize some comments and suggestions to hit you guys up with some cool content. Anyway, this has been Z's Spirit Airsoft. I'm going to utilize this on my next build that you'll see this coming week. Other than that, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.